Hi, in this video we are going to look at function operations. So our first operation that we're going to do is addition. So I'm going to add f of x plus g of x. Now you might see it written this way, and our textbook writes it this other way. Let me show you. They just say f plus g in parentheses of x. Those are the same thing. So what does that mean? It means we take these two functions and we add them together. So that means I take my f of x, which is x squared minus 1, and I'm going to add to it g of x, x minus 1. And then you combine your like terms. So x squared, there's no other like terms, so I write it down. And I have a plus x. Then minus 1 gives me minus 2. Now that's all there is to adding these. All right. So whether you see it written this way with the two functions with a math operation between them, or the functions in parentheses of x, same thing. Now next we're going to do subtraction. So I'm going to take f of x and I'm going to subtract from it g of x. All right. Now, the way our textbook writes it, in parentheses, we have f minus g in x. Doesn't matter which way it's written. All right. What it means is you take the function f of x, which is x squared minus 1, and we're going to subtract from it the function g of x, which is x minus 1. Okay. Well, I'm just going to change colors here. We have to distribute this negative, so I'm going to make this a plus and distribute the negative. All that does is change the signs of everything inside, and now I just combine like terms. So x squared, there's no other like terms of x squared, so I have x squared. I have a minus x, so minus x, and then negative 1 plus 1, those cancel out. So this is our answer, x squared minus x. That's what you get when you subtract them. Now, we have a couple other math operations, and one of those is multiplication. So let's multiply them. So if I have, the way your book writes it is f times g, they put it in parentheses, of x. So what does that mean? Multiply the two functions. So f of x is x squared minus 1. G of x is x minus 1. Use that FOIL method. So x squared times x gives me x to the third power. X squared times negative 1 minus x squared. The negative 1 times x gives me minus x, and negative 1 times negative 1 gives me positive 1. Now, there are no like terms to combine, so I'm finished. If there were like terms, then I would stop and I would have to combine the like terms. All right, now, for these, we are also asked to state the domain. Now, when we're adding, subtracting, and multiplying, and there are no fractions involved, x is not in the denominator of a fraction, the domain for all three of these, domain, is all real numbers. The one you have to watch is division. Okay, and the way our textbook writes this is f over g, and then they in x. This just means f of x divided by g of x. So I take my f of x function, which is x squared minus 1, I put it on top, and my g of function, of x function goes on the bottom, x minus 1. Now, if this were not factorable, I'd say you're done, but we're not, because the numerator is factorable. It's a difference of two squares. It factors into x plus 1 times x minus 1. And our denominator is x minus 1. You notice we have something alike. We have an x minus 1, so I can cancel out an x minus 1 from top to bottom, and I'm left with x plus 1. But my domain is, there is a restriction. See, what would make this undefined is if I were to put positive 1 in for x, because that would give a 0 in the denominator. So the domain is this. X cannot equal positive 1. In other words, it's all real numbers except positive 1, because that's the number that would make the denominator 0. Okay, so happy, enjoy. You can do these. They're not as bad as they look. They can get a little ugly at times. Have a great time with them.